Hey, welcome into RotoFanatic.com's Quality Start. It's Friday, August 28th, 2020, and the drum beat goes on. This is not a normal episode. Decided to not feeling it. And, that's not true. I could go about my business. I could carry on because, try to be professional. But just decided that with everything going on, with baseball canceling 7 games on Thursday, but yet 8 other games were played. This is like a perfect example of what's going on. So you have some teams take the day off and boycott and protest and think about what's going on. And they stand in solidarity with Jacob Blake, which is what this is all about, by the way. Everything that's happening right now related to the cancellation of games and the social justice talk is currently related to Jacob Blake being paralyzed because he was shot 7 times in the back by Kenosha, Wisconsin police officers over the weekend. He's paralyzed. That'll never change. And that's why we are in the current predicament of having games canceled. The NHL even finally did that, although they were way late. It was almost pointless. The NBA was way ahead of it. The Milwaukee Bucks, where Kenosha, Wisconsin resides, we led the way on that. And they have the playoffs going on. The Bucks have a serious chance to win an NBA title. But they postponed, and they said, no, this is more important. They recognized what priority was. And that's why I'm doing this, because the priority isn't baseball. We didn't do a morning relay, which is our podcast we do 5 days a week on rotofanatic.com for Friday, because everybody kind of agreed, it just didn't seem like it was important. And this episode is not a usual episode. It's just me ranting right now, right? That's I'm sorry if I'm ranting. I don't want to look like I'm talking down to you. I don't know anything. I don't know any more than anybody else. I don't. I'm just a dude who is trying to be part of the solution. I want to share with you. I want to be part of a better way forward. That's all I know. And, I don't represent everybody at RotoFanatic. That's not fair to say. But I certainly hope everybody at RotoFanatic would be standing in solidarity with me. And I believe they all would if you asked them. But, I'm doing this on my own. I do have my fellow RotoFanatic coworker, Dave Funnell, great guy on Twitter. Check him out. He's an awesome writer. He knows fantasy baseball inside and out, but he's also an even better human being. He's Canadian. It's pretty cool, right? He's going to talk about Jackie Robinson Day after this, which is on Friday, actually. Oddly enough, Jackie Robinson Day, which MLB will exploit to their advantage. Usually, they have the Jackie Robinson Day and they say, hey, let's all wear 42, and then they sell all the jerseys and make money off that. It's about money in the end. They don't give a shit about Jackie Robinson. No one's ever going to tell me otherwise. Like, oh, yeah, MLB, we love Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was the rebel. He was the rebellion. He was the antithesis of what was happening in baseball. There was no black players until 1947 in Major League Baseball. There was a whole Negro Leagues, which is a fantastic historical background on that. You should check that out. But the reason the Negro Leagues existed is because black people could not play in Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson changed that, and he had to go through hell. And if you don't know the story of Jackie Robinson, check it out, and Dave Funnell will talk about it after this. But, yeah, I don't know. Just want to take a moment to acknowledge the chaos that's going on. Some teams are boycotting, other teams are playing. It's a perfect representation of what's going on in the United States right now. Some people are they're focused, and they're trying to be part of the change, while others don't want anything to do with it. They want to go about their daily business. Just another day, right? So this shirt, by the way, it's obviously NSFW. So if you turn this on at work, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. We don't usually have this kind of content on the show. But I got the shirt a couple months ago from a podcast I listened to, and they're always telling the truth, and they're being honest in that podcast. So I respect the hell out of it, and that's why I'm wearing the shirt. Because we do have to fix this shit, but it's not going to happen overnight, and I don't have all the solutions. I just know what I can do and what I see. Speaking of Canadians like Dave Funnell, my girlfriend's Canadian, Leanne. I love you, Leanne. She's the best, sweetest woman I've ever met in my life. I'm a very lucky man. Some people say that, but I really am lucky. So I hope I never blow it with her. Anyways, we've been doing a book club, something I've never done before, a book club. It's crazy. I used to think book clubs were the lamest thing in the world. They were cheesy, and they were done by a bunch of old women, like on their last leg, nobody to connect with anywhere, no friends. So they were so desperate, they would do a book club. But I was wrong, because my first book club experience has been about this book, White Fragility. There it is. by Robin DiAngelo. It came out a couple of years ago, and it's about white people having an honest conversation with other white people. It's not about going to black people and saying, hey, how can I do better? Hey, black people, well, how do we fix this? That's not it. Black people already know. If you're an African American in the United States, you already know the game. You know the score. They don't need to be told. They're waiting on white people to get their shit together. I have to have a conversation with other whites. I'm Jewish too, for the record. I want people to know. So I do understand the legacy of historical pain. But I am white. I can't deny that. This is white skin. You see it everywhere. And I have inherent advantages because I am white. It's a fact. It is basically a fact. It is. And white people don't even realize they're born with it. So in this book club, White Fragility, I'm talking with other people, and I'm learning that not everybody is like me. And that's the point of this, I think. Not everybody's like you. Whether you think you're advanced or not, other people aren't there necessarily, and probably not at all, really. Now, the people I do the book club with, they're all very nice people, and they're reasonable. I think they're all white, as far as I could tell. And they were learning things from this book that they had no idea existed. Even they are still learning. And some of these people are like 20 years older than me, 30 years older than me. So the learning never ends. And you think you know, but you don't know. And the point is that white people got to talk to other white people about racism, white supremacy. White supremacy is not just KKK and Nazi paraphernalia everywhere. That's not what it is. White supremacy is an inherent built-in advantage in the United States. You're born white, boom, already an advantage, already, right off the bat. There's no argument about that. And if there is, then you're wasting your breath because it's true. And it's not because I know everything or that I learned that and you didn't. It's just before you. It's right in front of your face. If you're white and you don't know that, then you need to sit down and have some honest conversations with other people to understand that it's very, very, very real. In 100, 200 years, people look back and they'll laugh at the people now who think white privilege was some made up thing by BLM or something made up by the left to challenge. I don't know why people make things up like that. I don't think that way. But in a couple hundred years or so, people will look back and they'll think we're silly. Those people who didn't see white privilege for what it is, it's a real thing because it will be a routine part of society by then. Everybody will know that it exists and it'll be accepted, just like evolution was accepted. Once upon a time, that wasn't real. I used to teach social studies, high school history and social studies, government, all the fun stuff. Probably the classes you hated the most in high school. But for me, I loved it. So I went back to school and I learned. I educated myself. And what I learned is something that you can learn. It doesn't make me any smarter than you at all or anybody else. I don't ever want people to think that I'm talking down on high, up above, and telling you this is the way it should be. That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm simply telling you that I learned how much of a racist past this country has. The foundation, the roots that hold up whatever this country is, it's tainted by racism. You know what slavery is? You've heard of slavery, and we can never even begin to fathom the pain of what slavery is, even though we say the word out loud. No idea. We can't fathom it. We can't absorb the pain of being whisked away from your home country without a clue in the world, and all of a sudden you go on the most horrific boat ride ever, and then you're brought over to this land and it's a different climate and it's a different situation and everybody's white and everybody's different than you and they try to reform everything about you and you don't understand the language. I mean, that's just like the soft parts. That's not even some of the gruesome parts of the whole situation. And that's what this country was based on. The Civil War was just a blip on the radar. It didn't solve anything. It really didn't. It came up with a couple amendments and said, hey, all right, everybody's equal. No. Not really. It says it on a piece of paper, but that's a bunch of BS. And speaking of pieces of paper, real legislation was enacted when this country was founded to let you know that, hey, racism is real and we're not hiding it at all. In fact, we're going to write it in a bill and make it an official piece of legislation in the United States Congress. It's the three-fifths compromise. Three-fifths compromise. Every slave is three-fifths of a human being. Three-fifths of a fucking human being. What the hell? That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're rooted in. It didn't just go away. And it all got passed down from generation to generation to generation and so on and so forth. Hundreds of years go by. It's not just the South either. It's the whole country. There's racism in every pocket. There's a southern town in every northern state or western states. They're not just South specific. So don't give me that crap. Sure, the South, was exploited as being the bad guys, and there's plenty of bad guys, sure, but they're everywhere. They're in North Dakota, they're in Washington, they're in Idaho, they're in Maine. So come on, this is everywhere. And if you see it in any of those states, if you're white, you have a responsibility now. I really don't use that term lightly. A responsibility to call out racism, oppression, bigotry right in front of you. You got to say, you don't have to talk down to someone or say, hey, let me tell you what you're doing wrong. You don't have to do it like that or belittle them. You can just stop in the moment when you hear it and say, wait, did you realize what you just said? Do you understand the impact and the pain and the significance and the weight of what you just said carries with it? It's not just a phrase or a slur or a commentary of bigotry. It goes way deeper than that. And let me tell you why. It goes back to hundreds of years of oppression that has built a foundation for white people to thrive while all other minority groups are pushed down. And it's almost miraculous that people from other minority groups have been able to succeed the way they have in this country, considering how much the deck is stacked against them. That's why. So that's what this is all about. That's what the Jacob Blake shooting, George Floyd was murdered 3 months ago, and everybody was like, let's change this shit. And Minneapolis changed their police situation. They reformed the entire department and everything. It's amazing to see that happened. But then a lot of people still went about their lives, went back to normal. And sure, we all got to move forward. We all got stuff to do that we got to get done every day. I get that. But this isn't about that. This is about identifying racism, bigotry, and oppression. Wherever you see it, stopping and saying, hey, whoa. And this is white people need to do this. Really. It's not because white people need to fix everything. That is not what I'm saying at all. It's just that minority groups already know the game. They know the score of the situation. They know what it's like because they live it every day. Doc Rivers said it beautifully the other day, and he talked about he just wanted to be a basketball coach. He's like, can I just be a basketball coach? Gosh, that'd be great. But no, he can't. He has to, and he's happy to do it, and he's a big supporter of the cause. He has to talk about the shooting and how it's making him feel and what it's like to be a black parent and how every black parent has to have a conversation with their child about what to do when you get pulled over. And no white parent has ever had to have that conversation. I don't want to hear that because it's just not true. That's the key difference. That's what we're talking about here. That, to me, that says it all. A black parent has to tell their child, hey, here's how you don't get killed by the cops. While a white parent never even thinks to bring it up. To me, that's the line right there. That's what white privilege is in a nutshell. If you just need a simple, out-of-the-box, quick way to describe white privilege to someone, just tell them that. Black parents, yep, I got to tell this story. White parents, hey, what are we doing Friday night? Pizza? Seriously. That's what we're dealing with. So, I don't know more than anybody. I'm not the expert. I just want to be part of the solution. And, that's it. That's how I feel. This is Quality Start. This is Roto Fanatic. We're going to do fantasy baseball stuff. I love baseball. I love the game itself. There's plenty of problems, but it's Jackie Robinson Day, and it seems very apropos to kind of stop and join in. Now, I tried to do this yesterday and put it on the show, but my internet got all screwed up and ruined it. I did like 45 minutes of ranting and raving, and yeah, so you don't care about that. I just want you to know that it was already on my mind, and it's hard to know when to say something, when not to say something. I'm not some expert. I'm still new to this game. I just started this website a couple months ago, and I'm new to podcasting and doing all this stuff. So I don't know what the rules are. I feel that's kind of good. It gives me an advantage too, because I can just be myself. And I'm always going to be myself. I never want to deny anything about who I am and what I believe in. And I believe very much in standing in solidarity with the people who are protesting the Jacob Blake shooting, the George Floyd murder. We did the podcast blackout a couple months ago. Any podcast I was on, and I got a bunch of silly podcasts. We did the podcast blackout for each one of them. And it was basically you get on the air and you read this list of people who were murdered or killed by the cops in their custody or just killed by them outright. And they're all black. They're all minority groups. They're black or brown people. And we read it for like 8 minutes. It was just a nonstop list. It was so sad. And now here we are. It's another name added to the list. Jacob Blake is alive. Good for him. That's very great. I'm so glad he's alive, but he's paralyzed. He's totally had his life ruined. And that's why it's important to take this moment and say something. So If you have any suggestions for me, how I can do better, please let me know. That's my Twitter handle down below at MJ Govia. Hit me up. Tell me what I can do to be more useful or more part of the solution. That's all I need to know. So that's it. Here's Dave Funnell talking about Jackie Robinson Day. Thanks, Dave.
Today is Jackie Robinson Day around Major League Baseball, and it arrived at the perfect time. With so much discrimination and prejudice happening in the world each and every day, it's always good to take some time to remember the goodness and the endless possibilities that are in all people. Jackie Robinson is a prime example of this. As an African American, he was restricted to play only in the Negro Leagues in the 1940s. And it wasn't until April 15th, 1947, where he broke the color barrier of baseball when he started at first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers that day. Usually celebrated on that day every year, we are now celebrating it on August 28th of this year due to the global pandemic that stopped baseball earlier this year. When his career was all said and done, Jackie Robinson finished with over 1,500 hits, a .311 batting average, and 137 home runs to go along with his 197 career stolen bases. He also finished with many accolades such as being in the Hall of Fame, being an MVP, a Rookie of the Year, a 6-time All-Star. He won the batting title, and he also won the 1955 World Series. He has since paved the way for many other athletes of color that may not have been given the same opportunities had Robinson not done what was right and shown that any and all people deserve to be treated with equality, respect, and given a fair opportunity to grow. As he said, and I quote, "I'm not concerned with your liking or disliking me. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being." Happy Jackie Robinson Day, everybody.